Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for allowing me to wave on to the subcommittee. I do appreciate that. Mr. Pruitt, I share a lot of the concerns my colleagues have voiced today on the ethics front, but I'm actually here to talk about an issue that, as you might imagine, I'm from Iowa, is of utmost importance to my state, to my district. During your confirmation process, you stated that you had worked to uphold the renewable fuel standard. And over the last 2 years, President Trump has pledged on numerous occasions to support the RFS. In fact, time and time again, he's pledged to support it. However, over the last several weeks, information has been revealed that makes me question that commitment, as you might imagine. Various reports have indicated that the EPA has granted so-called economic hardship exemptions to numerous refiners who appear to be neither small nor financially distressed. You know what the law says, it has to be 75,000 gallons or less to be granted that economic hardship waiver. I can tell you I've heard directly from my constituents, farmers and many others, and from farmers across the country who are extremely troubled by this action, and this comes at a particularly difficult time in farm country, as you know. When we've had low prices, we've seen farm income trending downward, and industry profits are soaring. I'm extremely disappointed in the action, as you might imagine, and the lack of transparency and accountability in the process is also unacceptable. Under Section 211 of the Clean Air Act, the EPA administrator is required to reassign gallons that are waived under the small refinery exemption to other obligated parties. Because this entire waiver process has happened really without any transparency whatsoever, I'm disappointed, my constituents are disappointed, and we really have no idea whether those gallons have been reassigned as required by law. So my first question, Mr. Pruitt, yes or no, have you reassigned these gallons as required by law?
It's my understanding that the process has happened as it's supposed to under the statute.
Well, we're going to need that. And how do you plan to reassign then the gallons you waived for going forward for the 2019 RVO?
And I do think your question is very important with respect to the volume obligation, Congressman. And when you think about the commitment of this administration to the RFS, the point of obligation was denied, as you know. That was a big issue.
But that's not my point. I'm talking about the waivers. And I'd like to move on to my next question, if I could. Yes or no, do you intend to inform this committee and the public about the details behind these waivers, such as which refiners received a waiver?
Subject to the confidential business information or other information, that would be the only thing that would not be available.
Well, Mr. Pruitt, we just want to know who got these waivers, not why necessarily, and I can't understand why that'd be considered confidential business information. Reports have indicated that 25 refiners received waivers from their obligations. Is that number accurate?
That was actually in 2017, I think. The applications are still pending in 2018.
What is the number at the moment?
It's over that number for 2018, as I understand it.
Did you discuss these exemptions with the White House?
There's ongoing discussions with the White House on various issues around the RFS program.
Who at the White House specifically was involved?
I think the NEC in consultation with the Air Office.
Did you brief the President on these waivers?
Well, as I indicated, this was a dialogue among staff members, NEC and Air Office at our shop. So,
has anybody explained to the President the substantial impact that these waivers have on the ethanol industry? Some have estimated 1 billion gallons.
I'm sure it's come up in many discussions.
And moving on, you told me and many others that EPA is studying whether it has the legal authority to grant the RVP waiver. That was the last time that I waved onto this committee. We talked about that issue. And that seems like it's taking quite a while, as you might imagine, for many of us in corn country. And with the President's recent remarks, which were referenced here about his interest in the year-round E15, I'm wondering what the holdup is on this at this point.
It's just trying to ensure that the legal basis is solid, because there will be litigation that will ensue. There are many.
Well, do you plan to move forward and grant the RVP waiver and allow year-round sales of E15?
I intend to finish that process very soon.
Yeah, hopefully the sooner the better, because this is something that obviously is very important, not only to my state and my district, to many folks around the country. So we're looking forward to that. And of course, refinery executives have called your action on the hardship waivers to go back to that, quote, giving out trick-or-treat candy, unquote, to their industry. And I'm here to tell you that farmers are very disappointed by this. They've been waiting for years for the E15 waiver year-round. And Mr. Chairman, I think this program is in need of substantial oversight, the waiver program, and certainly the E15 as well. And these actions, I don't think, can happen in secret. I know that was addressed earlier in this hearing. We need to make sure that these waivers are not abused as a financial windfall for special interests, and I look forward to working with you, Mr. Chairman, on this further, and I yield back. Thank you.